What's up, guys? Classy Metal here. It is Friday once again, which means it's time for Four-saken Fridays. I'm going to show off 4 2022 releases that I feel like you guys need to get your grubby hands on, or at least check out and tell me what you think about them for yourself. I'm enjoying doing this series. I kind of miss doing the 7 Deadly Spins episodes, so maybe after I get moved and all that good stuff, we can spark that series back up. But with as long as there's no unforeseen circumstances going down, I'm going to keep doing this Four-saken Fridays through the month of July because I'm enjoying it. You guys seem like you enjoyed the first video, so we're just going to jump into this second round. I've got a not quite as eclectic of a assortment this week. I have a couple of death metal albums and a couple of black metal. I know you death metal fans will probably be happy because I did leave death metal out on the last video. At least it's all metal. Somebody got mad because I showed the 40-watt sun in the last video, but you know what? I'm going to show what I like, so hopefully you guys, the majority of you, like it as well. Let's get right into this. The first album I'm going to show, it seems like, at least for the past couple years, Nottermock Productions has put out an album at the beginning of the year, fairly close to the beginning of the year, that just hits me and sticks with me throughout the entirety of the year to come. No different this year. We have Marrasmieli with their second full-length entitled Martaiden Mailta. This is a band out of Finland. Their band name, Marrasmieli, roughly translates into Death of the Mind, which isn't really fitting for me, especially on this album, because this album really piques my interest, keeps me going, and it's almost an introspective type release. If you missed their 2020 release entitled Between Land and Sky, Marrasmieli is this folky, if you can't figure it out from it being on Nottermock Productions, this is this folky, atmospheric, melodic brand of black metal. This is 5 tracks, clocks in about 45 minutes, although the first track is an instrumental that only runs for about a minute and a half. So I mean, there's some length on some of these tracks on this release. I enjoyed their first album, Between Land and Sky. That one was good. I never picked it up, but the album was good enough that it kind of piqued my interest in this band, and I kind of had my eye out watching in case they ever did release something else. I knew that it would be something I at least wanted to check out. I checked this out, and upon first listen to this, I knew I had to get my hands on it. An absolutely phenomenal brand of atmospheric, folky black metal. Track number 3, Ghosts of Past and Future, is definitely my favorite track on this release. It leans more at times into that acoustic area of black metal. There's an accordion on there that fits in absolutely perfect. Sometimes accordions in black metal can be a bit hit or miss if they're not done just right. I have no complaints on this album whatsoever. It's definitely way up there with my favorite releases of this year. It feels more atmospheric than the predecessor, than the debut album. And one thing saying that, with it being more atmospheric, it feels like each track is able to run its course. It feels there's nothing rushed. There's no ideas that seem that they had to be just forced into a track or had to be forced in to be placed on the album. I love the fact that the tracks are very deliberate, very drawn out, and they just get you where you want to go. I know a lot of albums, you listen to an album and the idea of whether an album is good or not is the immediate replay value. Like, you listen to the album and you want to keep listening to it over and over and over. This album has a different effect for me. I listen to this album and I feel full. I need Spence Grady. I need him on speed dial, one of the commenters, because he always can comment and tell you the exact word that I'm looking for. But I feel fulfilled. I feel full after listening to this. It just feels satisfied. And that is probably the biggest compliment I could ever give to any release. This is phenomenal. This is one that that's going to stay in my memory for years to come. This is going to be something that I'm going to find myself when I'm in the mood for this, reaching for this, listening to it, and I believe it will still have that same effect of feeling just satisfied after I listen to it. So if you're into atmospheric black metal, especially folky style atmospheric black metal, definitely check out this band from Finland. These will all be linked up in the description as always, but I just absolutely love this release. Next up, I have to give a thanks to Paul over at Soulgrinder Zine. He sent me this release around the time that I had COVID, and he asked me to do a little review on it. And this is sadly the first time that I've been able to actually show this on the channel. I told him when he was sending me the stuff that I was down and I was out and I was going to be behind, and he was cool with everything. He just wanted me to have the stuff. So Paul, I thank you so much. And you sent me a banger of an album. This is a band out of Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. This is Dissentience with their debut full-length entitled Empire Anatomy. This came out, I believe, back in February of this year, which is just about right because I caught COVID towards the end of February and into March. I featured this band on the channel early on in my 7 Deadly Spins. When I started that series, they had an EP that came out in 2018 entitled Mask of Pretense that I really did enjoy, and I did feature that on this channel. I had not, I guess with me just being under the weather about the time that this came out and everything else going on, just with being so sick, I overlooked this release. So I have to say a huge thank you to Paul for sending me this. Otherwise, I may have missed out on this. If you missed my previous video where I talked about that EP and you are not familiar with Dissentience, they are a kind of thrashy mellow death project. I get some heavy revocation vibes from this band. Latter era death worship going on at times, and I'm definitely A-OK with that. This is 10 tracks, about 40 minutes, about the perfect time frame for this particular release because it definitely does not overstay its welcome. It's one of those that definitely has a solid replay value just from the melodies and the riffs and the hooks that are present on this release. The very first track on this, War of Belief, is probably one of the stronger tracks on the entire album. It definitely sinks its hooks into you right at the very beginning. There's another track on here, number 4, The End. It's entitled The End, All and All Between. It has this kind of war horn introduction going on it, and it piques your interest going into that track. Just the I guess the intro of the track, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. If you were going to check out anything on this and you want to get a good feel for this release, I would definitely check out either the first track, War of Belief, or track 4, The End. One thing I have to say about this release, with it being a DIY self-released from the band album, the production on this is absolutely flawless. I love the fact that every instrument on this release it has its attention set to it just absolutely perfectly. The bass and the drums are given a time to shine on this that a lot of professional done albums kind of fall short on. That it's very crafty. It's very tricky, I guess is the way to put that. Just some of the change ups that the bass and the drums are able to afford on this. It will definitely kind of pique you and pique your mind and be like, did I just hear that right? And make you want to re-listen to it, and then you're just like, wow, mind blown that they're able to pull something like that off. So a fantastic release here from Dissentience, and once again, thank you, Paul, for sending me that copy. Next up, we have some more black metal. This is an international band. It's a trio of members that are split up between the Netherlands and Sweden. This is In Aphelion with their debut full-length entitled Moribund. This was released back in March on Edge Circle Productions. In Aphelion released an EP in November of 2021 that was entitled Luciferian Age. It has that track on this album. Actually, 2 of the 4 tracks from that EP made it to the full length. I'm okay with that. Sometimes on EPs you want original material. It feels like they changed those tracks up a little bit on the full length, and they fit well into the composition of this album. Sebastian Romstead, I believe is how you pronounce that, the vocalist and guitarist for this band. I believe he has to be the composer of the music and everything, like the mastermind behind this. He has composed and structured this album absolutely perfectly. You have this feel of almost melodic black metal at times, this ferocious, fast-paced, traditional black metal style, and thrashy black metal, especially with that Luciferian age. The tracks that were on that demo or that EP material and some of the prior demo materials, you kind of got a feel that Aphelion was going to be this thrashy black metal project, and they're able to transcend that on this release, and they're able to bring in different areas of black metal, kind of catch you off guard. The very beginning of this has this 80s horror soundtrack vibe going on that I absolutely love. It sets the stage perfectly for this release. This is stellar. I know some of you have seen that artwork around. If you have not taken the initiative yet to check this one out, I highly implore that you do so. The last track, Requiem, also brings in a bit of atmospherics that you just don't see coming, but it absolutely works with this. So killer black metal here from Sweden and the Netherlands. Let me take another drink. I'm starting to get a little tongue-tied. And for the final release that I'm going to show, it is one that is finally starting to gain some steam and some recognition. When I first got this, I was talking about how I had not seen anyone else talk about this release, and now it's starting to get some attention, and I'm very thankful that it is, because it is a phenomenal black and death metal release. This is a band out of Austin, Texas. This is Trenchant with their debut album entitled Commandocult. This is war-themed, not war metal. It is war-themed black and death metal. One great thing about this band is they're able to circumnavigate the areas of black metal back into death metal, back into black metal, absolutely flawlessly. You have parts on this that could stand with any other black metal release, and then you have parts on this that almost have like an old school death metal vibe going on. 2 of my favorite tracks on this particular release are right towards the beginning of the album, but it feels like the strongest portion of the album for me. You have track number 3 entitled Dark Water Graves. You almost get this doomy death metal feel on that one, and it's the only time that I really get those doomy vibes going on this album. But I hope in the future maybe the band explores that sound a little bit more, because I felt like that was one of their strongest points. And then you have track number 4 entitled Yellow Cross Orison, or I believe is how you pronounce that. And that one, it's this track about chemical warfare, and the vocals on that just fit the track absolutely. They just go hand in hand, the way that the vocalist is able to pull that off. The vocals are probably one of the strongest things on this album. I know black metal, death metal, the gutturals, the shrieks, sometimes the vocals, I bring up vocals a lot. With me not being able to play an instrument myself, not being musically minded, I find myself focusing on vocals maybe a bit more than some other people do, maybe a bit more than I possibly should. But the vocals on this are definitely a huge asset to the project as a whole. They are able to pull off this guttural sound, but enunciate the words to a point where you can understand everything that they're saying, and that is a huge feat in itself. Trenchant is absolutely amazing. If you're into death metal, if you're into black metal, I think this could appeal to you either way. Definitely one of the better extreme releases from the year so far. If I had any gripe about this particular release whatsoever, and it's just a minute, small gripe, I've brought this up. I think in my last Metalhead box I had a similar complaint. On track number 8, there's 9 tracks on this. Track number 8, Pyre at the Tarn, is a cover from the band Molested. For me, them covering someone kind of takes away from what they've what they've done on their own merit. It just doesn't really fit the theme of the album, and I like their style of stuff they're doing better than that cover. They do a good job on the cover, don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking what they've done. I know that they're super proud of everything that they've done, and if I was a part of this, I would be absolutely proud of everything that they've done as well. It just, for me, I could have done without that cover song. I love everything that they've done. The original material that they did, save the covers for either bonus tracks or EP material. That's the, if I had any, it's just a small little gripe. If I had to complain about anything, that would be it. But even with that little complaint, it does not really take away from the album as a whole. I've returned to this one several times. The very first track, Commandocult, the title track, has you marching into war with this album, and it makes you, it blows you to pieces and puts you back together just to blow you apart again. So fantastic release here. Definitely check that one out. It's hard for me to even pick a favorite out of all of these, so if I was you, I would check all of these out. You know, not just because I say so, just because they're fantastic albums. That's all I've got for this Friday. Hope you guys are enjoying this series. I will see you Sunday for the CD collection, and then next Friday for another one of these. Stay classy, stay metal, and I will see you guys very soon. I promise.